but through that he reminds us of the great truth, and all of our liberation, all of our freedom rests in knowing this, that we are not our bodies, we are not our feelings, we are not our thoughts, we are not our habits, we are not our past, present, future, but we are eternal spirit, free of all of that. We are consciousness. And consciousness knows no bounds. So once we begin to enter into that domain of thinking, that very much dovetails with my talk today, Janice, that is when we can experience that great heavenly domain of synchronicity and simultaneous being. This morning, this is one of my favorite subjects. I mean, I like any and all divine subjects, and this is definitely one. And it is the divine experience of synchronicity. What synchronicity is, how to tune up to this high vibration, how to live in it, and how this thing called synchronicity involves simultaneous being. I call synchronicity a God expression, a God aspect, a God function, or one of the way God is, one of the ways God operates. Because synchronicity involves experiences of such instant, immediate, perfected, accelerated, and harmonious timing, that these can only arise and surface for us when we are inwardly rooted in the profound consciousness of oneness. If we are not in a profound consciousness of oneness, we cannot experience synchronicity. For it is only this felt sense of oneness with all that is, with all the harmonic movement of life, as Janice said, in every domain, in every dimension, in every kingdom, only this consciousness can plug us into the divine currents. Only a sense of oneness can spark the spark of divine connectedness and all its manifest glories of unified being in harmonious action. We call synchronicity, when it happens to us, we say, it's surprising, it's wonderful, it's amazing, it's joyous, it's transcendent. For what does it do? These types of events take us out of the realm of hard, encumbered, and slowed experience. It seems when we experience synchronicity, or a sudden meeting up with our good, spontaneous, whatever it is, it seems at that moment that there is a presence, there is a something greater, an invisible something that is past all logic, past all sense reference, and this something has the facility to connect us up to our good. And when we are fully residing in the realization of who and what we are in God, as Joel Goldsmith says, seek ye first the kingdom. What that means is go to the high place in your consciousness and seek to know the truth of your being as one with God. So when we experience synchronicity, we sense this presence, which we call God, this love, this glue of life, this energy of life that we abide in. And we have a newer sense of what life really is, as a complete, whole expression of God without encumbrance. And when we are in the divine realization, synchronicity then becomes our norm. We do not expect if we're in the right consciousness, for our experiences to be hard, to be difficult, to be delayed, to be encumbered, to be filled with obstacles. This is not God. This is the action of all our beliefs of separation from the God factor. I call it the X factor, the factor that makes the difference, right? So synchronicity is those experiences when we've transcended and somehow we're in such a consciousness of joy and love, peace and harmony, that we are attracting immediate evidence of good, okay? Because we're in our divine self. So we have heard this statement, when two or more are gathered together in my name, meaning in recognition of the truth of there is only one. There is only one, and that's us, all of us. When two or more are gathered together in my name, I am in the midst. The manifestation of good, which is all that God is. God equals good. Am in the midst. I in the midst am mighty to heal and to prosper. When two or more are gathered together in the consciousness of I am, of the truth of good. So in this statement, we glean that the entire universe is a spiritual system, actually. Once we thought it was material, that the power somehow was out there. But now we know this is a profound spiritual system operating on a principle of agreement, affinity. We know the law of attraction. That which I am thinking upon, I am magnetic toward. I attract and I become. So the entire universe is a spiritual system operating on a principle of agreement, affinity, and oneness. Either ourselves with ourselves. If my conscious and subconscious mind come together to agree, yes, over anything, it shall be done unto me as I believe, as I have agreed. If I and another come together, you know, when you look at events happening and talk about synchronicity, here I am in my locale in space and time, right? The local God where I am, and I'm thinking, gee, you know, I'd like to speak to someone or whatever. And there is, in the universe of wholeness, there is my perfect fulfillment or complement or counterpart thinking, gee, I'd like to stop by and see Linda. And then suddenly my doorbell rings. And through the one mind, that mind of harmony, of agreement, two or more, in the name of whatever good, this person shows up. My doorbell's ringing and I say, wow, you know, I was just thinking of you. So this is the joy of the profound connectedness that would operate for us all the time if we didn't have obstruction, if we didn't have some other idea. Every aspect of life would operate on this principle of wholeness and unity, two or more. Okay? So this is a spiritual system operating on this principle of agreement, affinity, and oneness. So only he or she that recognizes this timeless, spaceless truth beyond body, beyond mind. It's a truth of divine heart, of divine beingness. Only he, she that recognizes this timeless, spaceless truth can experience the heavenly dimensions and joy of synchronistic living. And trusting to living in this dimension rather than the hard labor that comes from all our ideas of separation. In other words, Emma Curtis Hopkins says a great thing. She says, we're either thinking in terms of the presence or the absence. Right? All conflict is due to thinking in terms of some absence. We're thinking duality. We're thinking maybe I want something, but I'm alone in the world. I'm not unified. No one else wants it. So I've set myself apart, and I am no longer linked in the power system the circular system of good. So you know, when you're feeling despondent or you know that at that moment you're suffering from an idea of separation, some belief that got in there, and your good will arrive much more quickly when you heal that and remind yourself, regardless of whatever it is, if you can think of it, it's available. It wants to come to you as much as you desire it. Okay? So we know at that time, I'm in separation. Let me remind myself I am one with all that is. So what are some of the ways that synchronicity, or this perfect system of perfect oneness, born on the breath of God, appears to us? Well, like I said, perhaps we are thinking in terms of someone we love, a friend perhaps. Or perhaps we are thinking in a loving, not distressed way, loving, easy way of something we'd like to experience. Then suddenly, when we're in ease and peace and confidence in this infallible principle of connection, suddenly, almost instantly, it seems that friends appear, or that great opportunity manifests on our horizon. And again, it seems given to us, somehow mysteriously arranged by some unseen force of love, acting silently on our behalf. This is what we call that creative principle called God, which always responds to us, which is love, and can be no other, regardless of whatever. And there is another aspect of spontaneity. Spontaneity. You know, very often you'll work on something, you'll work and work at it, and then suddenly it will appear from just, some spontaneous area that you weren't even thinking of. So what that is the way the universe finds an outlet for you. It finds the outlet, the perfect outlet, where there's a unity. In other words, where it will benefit you and you have some benefit for that person or experience or whatever, and get you together. So this is the spontaneous factor, and we should always expect our good to appear in this high level of joy, harmony, spontaneity. And we see ourselves efforting at something, let's leave it. Let's go take a walk in the park and remind ourselves, I'm efforting. That means I'm literally pushing away my joy, my spontaneity. The more I effort at something, and I don't mean good conscious work or right action. I'm talking about that stressing at things, and we all know what that is, don't we? Okay, so there is a spontaneity. There is joy. There is an aha. It seems so perfect, just what we have been thinking of or seeking. And this is God. We know this is God manifesting in our lives. So in this moment of this great experience of boundless unity, however it comes to us, we are in that instant transcendent, it seems, as Jana said, of common time-space boundaries. All sense of time-space boundaries dissolve in that moment. In the moment you're rejoicing that someone heard you, even though you didn't call them up. There is no time and no space for you in that moment. We are in some other dimension of livingness now, only aware now, in this moment, of the perfection and joy and connectedness of all of life. So, we're in the thinking that this perfection is a sometime thing. But us metaphysicians are moving over into the level of living where perfection is all we see. The very first thing we learn to do when we come into any type of master teaching is to start naming things good and naming them perfect. And that's called acknowledging the subtle presence of good hidden within everything. So we can tune up ourselves to be right and ready to receive of these divine experiences by practicing when things happening in our life, regardless of the appearance, naming it perfect, naming it good, getting a consciousness that God or this divine energy of life is, which is love, and no less, is always in the center of everything that goes on with me. Okay? So we have moved in this consciousness from where we have been caught up because of our opinionating or judgments or whatever, in some sense of separation, that only an instant before. And suddenly here we are now for the moment, fully healed and fully experiencing our God-connectedness and joy. Bonds of limitation of all kinds in that moment have splintered apart. In that moment. Ask yourself, what is the dynamic of the feeling that I feel when things go my way and things are so joyous? You feel the universe loves you. You feel connected to all. There is not one limitation in your mind. There is not one I can't in your mind. So for that moment, because of the force of oneness, all limitation, time, space, whatever it might be, has splintered apart, and we behold only the perfect one. This is so powerful, what I'm saying to you, the way to cut through. Now, usually, we're in the world of statistics. The reading, what we do is we read the facts out there. They tell us the statistics. They tell us the trends, and we get caught up in this. All right? So we're busy reading the facts out there, and we are not reading the truth of our great presence within. All right? Big difference. If you read your life according to the out there, you will never be stable. If you constantly reflect before you opinionate about an experience or a projection you have of yourself, go within and ask, is this something, what would God be projecting here? If God isn't projecting that negation, I'm not either. All right? So we go to the truth of the great presence within. We speak of odds, statistics. We say the odds are, chances are, and so on. And this is all being, reading ourselves by the out there, not by what's within. And we are filled with comparisons, statistics, and weighing these odds. In the consciousness of the one and the land of synchronous and simultaneous being, we transcend the odds. There are no odds. Because we are dealing not with two forces, we are dealing with that which is higher, which is only the one of perfect harmony and love now. See, in God there are no odds. There can be only one thing. There could not be any insufficiency in God, or this universe would have combusted. It wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be here. So there is only one power, and in that, all the odds are with you, you could say. So you will feel in the moment when you begin to have synchronistic experiences that somehow you have transcended odds. And very often the synchronistic experience will bring you a divine opportunity to expand, for increase. So it's very important for us to realize from the beginning, let's not wait until we have the experiences to cognize this truth, but let us practice now. There are no odds and there are no statistics. There is only one truth of good. Odds and statistics are a delusion of the human mind. Nor is there past nor future. This is another important factor. There is only now. It is said that all of us are at the full point of all the power of our being, like the sun at high noon, right now, with every thought that we think. Not tomorrow, not yesterday. Now. So there is a heightened sense of now in synchronicity. We forget about past, future. We really become aware. It's as if time stood still. Or we are transcendent. So this is the truth of our being. Also another truth is there are no strangers. And in the synchronistic land, strangers hold mighty messages and gifts and keys and cues for us. Because why? There is only one God, and we're all connected into it. There are no strangers in our universe. We are connected to all that is. So there is only one. There are no strangers. There is no status. There is no difference. No more greater measure of worth to me or lesser to me than anyone or anything that is an expression of the divine, which is all that is. So all of these separative thoughts that we have that confuse us and confound us and cause us misery are cut. You know, the cord is cut when you have these transcendent experiences. But we want to know that these are happening because we're in oneness, and this is the state that we are moving into now. As we become more transcendent, more clearly identified, these are the treasures and the gifts of the kingdom that flow to us. As it says, as I glorify the Father, meaning divine principle, that which is the truth of the ages, as I glorify the Father principle, the Father glorifies the Son, daughter. And this is an aspect of glory. All right, so there is only the one doing its perfect thing in and through us and all that lives. And what else? To have synchronicity, we cannot be, just as much as we cannot be in separation, we cannot be in anger or hate or resentment. For the one is only love and joy for everything, regardless. Regardless. We talk about, the offenses of others toward us. Divine mind knows nothing of what we're talking about. This is an idea we have in mind about others. So we cannot be in anger or hate, for the one is only love and joy and responds to a loving, joyous consciousness. And only these divine feelings, which as we get freer and freer of our reactivity and come to understand are right, we reside in joy, bliss, and peace much more frequently. Okay? This is our natural state. So only these divine feelings and expectations of good and trust and confidence plug us into synchronicity and simultaneous being, which are aspects of the fullness of our being. In the Celestine Prophecy, or the beautiful piece, which I highly recommend, called The Alchemist by Paul Coelho, it's a beautiful story. Both heroes, and I'm getting some of those books in, both heroes find, by following their inner lead, the voice within, right? That silent, still voice that guides us from within. And this voice typically defies all reason and logic, which is basically security-oriented. Basically, reason and logic are security-oriented. So these heroes follow their inner lead. And by following that inner lead, which is the voice of God in us, they are open. By doing this, they open themselves to the greater force of life and unity and the gifts to operate through them. So once we will go with our inner voice, and sometimes it's called a hunch, a lead, those, and they don't seem to be what the plan was, So if you're free enough to drop whatever planning and follow those divine leads, then you will begin to experience a spontaneous inner thread of linkage to your divine plan, the divine plan for your unfoldment, and everyone and everything who is a part of it. Persons, places, and things seem to show up when needed, carrying opportunities, carrying messages, carrying love. So there is an acute sense of now. You notice and I'm sure all of you have read the Celestine, but this is a very important factor. They are conscious of being in the now, and they are conscious of recognizing that subtle, invisible presence. Of being in the now, and they are conscious of recognizing what is necessary. So there is an acute sense of now and the perfection. There is recognition, not like, oh, that was just a haphazard whatever. There is conscious recognition of the connectedness and the significance of each and every experience that we have adding unto us. So they are aware, they are alert, and they are recognizing. Now, so they are seeing, in essence, and acknowledging the one God operating, the one God operating. I've said, like, just to tell just a brief story about odds and statistics. One time I was looking at some real estate across town for the Institute, and I took a taxi across town. I believe the driver was Hindu, right? And he dropped me off to meet the real estate agent. Then several hours later, and in an entirely different location, we had finished, and I was going to come back to the west side. So 2 cabs came, and I said, "You take that cab, and I'll take this one." I get in the cab, and there is the same guy to take me back across town. And he turned to me and says, "What are the odds in this? 4 million, I don't know how many cabs in the city, what the number is." He says, "What?" He named me some phenomenal odds. So this is what I mean when I say it's transcendent. There aren't any impossibilities. And what the significance of that, aside from the fact that it just was very joyous to have that experience, I don't know, but that would have been enough. So this is how synchronicity is, right? So, and it's a now thing, and you become very aware of life now, how wonderful, how wonderful. Okay, so, and I thought of God when I saw him again. So what do I mean by simultaneous being? This aspect of it, or instantaneous. In all synchronous circumstances, we find the sequence of thought to thing, and we know that life moves from the inner to the outer. Consciousness is all. So we get an idea about something, and at a certain point it manifests. So what happens is that thought thing, because we're in such a high state of peace and ease, is accelerated. It becomes instantaneous, and it becomes closer to what the divine power in us really is, which is instant manifestation, because God doesn't need time to breathe the world out. Only a thought. So this is our natural state. So we will see that there is a sense of instantaneousness, right now availability, accelerated. All right? And we must realize that this is pointing up to us a something, that this is the dimension that we are moving into. The more we clear our consciousness of negation, this is what we'll be experiencing. Continuous flow, thought thing. Thought thing. All right, so it closes the gap there. And this is because it reveals the truth of an ever-present, ever-responding God. In truth, an unlimited yes system. A yes system. The universe says yes to me. God responds to me. It's very important to know this. We have had so much conditioning and we think we live in a no system. We have dreamed the idea of obstacle out of our separation. But in fact, the universe says yes to us without hesitation, regardless of what we're thinking. I'm having a great day today. Yes, you're having a great day today. I'm having a terrible day today. Yes, you're having a terrible day today. You know, I feel mighty and wonderful and successful today. Yes, you certainly do, and your life shows it. I feel like such a failure. Yes, you do, and your life certainly shows it. You know, I mean, it's a total yes system, and we need to understand this. Yes, 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 yes. God responds to us, to our thoughts about it. And it is said that the greater the faith in whatever good, the greater the faith, the more accelerated the experience, the quicker. Because faith transcends negation. So the greater the faith, and you can say, well, why is it taking so long? Ask you, where is that coming from? Where is your faith? Look at your consciousness, not the time it's taking. So now is an aspect, because it is an aspect of the potential of our being. When I was packing for Christmas last year, and I come from a very large family. I got a lot of people, about 40 presents, 30 presents. And I wanted to travel to Boston, and I'm ready to go. I got to go on the train the next morning. It's late in the evening, and I said, God, boxes now. Become my boxes now. But you see that? I didn't do a long treatment. No big deal, no ritual, not even a meditation. I just said, God, boxes now. I go out the door, go into the first store that I can find, and there's all these perfect boxes stacked up, And so I say to the fellow there, he's standing up in the podium, there's like a raised level where he's up, And I said, could I have these boxes? He said, I've been holding them for you. I didn't know the man. He says, I've been waiting for you. I've been holding them for you. And then not only that, he comes down and he folds them for me. He says, let me fold them for you. So, God boxes, yes. You hear what I'm saying? This is so powerful. If we know this, if we know this to be true, even when we're in difficulty, even when we feel confused and all these things, we can know the standard, the potential, and it gives us a vision to work toward. All right? So, we know within the now, God is now. That's what I mean, simultaneous being, thought thing, instant. It is actually simultaneous. When God thinks, it is. There is no difference between thought thing. Thought is thing. Instant. So incomprehensible to us in time what that is. All right? So within this principle of now and acceleration is also the principle of perfection and harmony and mutuality. God is the need and the need met. This is what I'm talking about before. Two gather together. God is the need and the need met. It is impossible for you to have a need where there is not someone or some situation in the universe that desires, where there's a perfect mutuality there, the divine exchange system. It is absolutely impossible. At the instant that you are requiring something, someone is requiring you. Okay? That's the perfection, the harmony, the mutuality. God is the need in you and the need met through you in the perfect way. All right? So, with everyone satisfied and cared for at every point, there's no such a thing as diminishment for someone, like my good and you don't get good. There's no such a thing in the divine system. If you're thinking in those terms, you cannot experience synchronicity. You must be thinking in terms of love and mutuality and prosperity, good for all. Must be. So God is the challenge and the solution. simultaneously and coexistent. Coexistent. Just at once, I have the front side, the front and back of the hand, same thing. And so God is the challenge and the solution. God is the question, God is the answer. Coexistent. Thus it is my choice in every situation where I shall dwell. Shall I see God, perfection, or shall I see problem? God is the question and the answer in one. There also is only one problem. Every problem comes down to a sense of separation. All healing comes through greater unification with good, which is God. So a perfect God has set a marvelous universe of oneness for us to abide in, learn through, and experience. A most fabulous universe built upon inner threads of oneness, all designed to empower, to fulfill every need perfectly when tapped into and recognized. When recognized. So let us synchronize more frequently our minds and hearts with the one, being like it is. Let us participate in the love and the joy of universal unity and know who we are, forever connected with each other eternally throughout all ages and time. Connected with each other and the divine director that we call God, the power, the life, who operates this system of grandeur. Heaven is on earth. We just must bring it out. Divine Mind operates this great system of grandeur and unity through us. Let us say there is no separation for us. There are no odds for us. There are no statistics that have any meaning for us. We live in the consciousness of divine favor, recognizing God in all. The sons and daughters of the Most High, we rejoice in an eternal God and an eternal author of good. And we are eternally, infinitely assured, regardless of whatever. We know that we shall come out golden. And so it is. So what I'd like to do is to just go within for a short meditation so we can ground this consciousness of simultaneous being within ourselves and synchronicity. So let us go within right now. Sweeping up through all of body, through every chakra, to the highest of the high, to the summit of consciousness. And right now, we flow out of our body being to be one with the infinite and the all in the high and holy place, immersed in the radiance and intense light of God being, the eternal flame and power of our life. Now, as we view our very bodies and minds, we see they are streaming laser threads of light, beams of light, throughout all the wide universe. Through our top awareness, we are connected to all kingdoms, domains, persons, places, and things, and all that is. And there are threads of light also entering us from all that is. There is a mighty and powerful circulation of beams and rays and threads of light flowing in and out. We are astounded and amazed by this mighty symphony of light circulating through us. Now, as we view our being, we see that strands flow out from us freely, carrying our highest aspiration and vision of good now, flowing out in the divine system to ignite and touch each and every person, place, and thing without limit involved in our good. We see that this is done. And all of it has reached the peak of the arc and is now arcing back to us on light. All the persons, places, things, and all that are a part of our nucleus of good return unto us now on the beam of light. And each one gather with the persons, places, and conditions of their individual good in your heart within. Now in space and time, under the blessing of omniscience and omnipresence, we see there is always perfect harmony and fulfillment. We see with whatever that situation was that was on our mind, all our needs are met in joy and in love, and all are prospering. And this is God in us. And so it is. These truths within ourselves. I am that I am, and right now I declare I am one with the wide universe of divine circulation. I live in ultimate harmony and profound connection with all that is. I move in concert with the great tapestry of being, and I touch my own at every point. Invisible patterns and subtle strands of unified being align me near and far. There is no space nor time between me and my own. I rejoice that when I speak, worlds of good spontaneously appear. Yes, I am one. I am thought. I am thing. I am spontaneous, joyous manifestation. I am all in all. I am that I am in me is the way and the life of richest fulfillment. Right now, as I muse upon a vast universe of good, that which is next for my radiant joy appears, shaped out of an infinite sea of love. Yes, divine principle always responds to bless and prosper me. I rejoice that when I speak, I am heard. When I ask, I receive. When I love, I am one with all that lives. Thank you, God. I am bliss, and so it is, and so it is.